Hello and welcome to Talk Football Podcast. This is episode 10 of season 4. Can you believe it? And we are live on YouTube, obviously, because that's where we are. We're here. We're also live over here on TikTok. So if anyone watching on TikTok wants to ask questions of Andy that's Manchester United related, he can answer those questions live for you. Welcome to the pod, Andy.
Welcome back again. Hey,
I know, mate. It's been a while since I've been dying to get you on. It's been a while since we've had you on. Now you have to bear with me if this is a bit glitchy around my head and all that because I'm trying this little virtual green screen background out as a little tester. So yeah, ignore any little glitches you see. But yes, welcome to the pod, Andy.
it's nice to be back talking football again.
Yes, we are. I mean, it's been an eventful day for me. We'll touch on that a bit later, but we're predominantly going to be talking about Man United. And albeit you won the other night, wasn't the most convincing performance, and it hasn't really been the most convincing sort of season so far, really.
Not one bit. But
No,
then, as the statistics are now saying, Ten Hag is now joint fastest 50 games. He's joint top winner with Fergie in 30 wins out of 50, which
where do you
is hard
stand
to.
with him?
There's some of his tactical decisions he's been making in some of the games. For example, he took Hoyland off midweek in the Champions League game, not the
Yeah,
Copenhagen home one, but the other Copenhagen game. You're like, he's our only striker, and you're taking him off when we need more goals and the bigger win. All
mm.
right, it was good that Slabhead scored the winner,
Yeah.
but it's just some of his tactical decisions. I'm thinking, really, why are you doing that?
I mean, I know you're struggling with injuries and that at the moment. You know, when you're having to resort to playing Maguire at the back with Johnny Evans, I mean, you know, you're touching cloth.
That's saying something, in it. That
Yeah.
is saying something when we're relying on 35-year-old Johnny Evans.
Mm. So, I mean, the way I've kind of grasped it is it's kind of been a bit like from I've got a few Man United fans that I work with, and it
Mm.
is kind of 50-50, like with him and Ten Hag. I mean, like you say, you touched on the tactical side of things, um, but with quite a few players out missing. I think a notable player, I'll see what you think about this, but a notable player for me missing from the midfield being in Casemiro.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
possibly out now till mid-December now.
really.
He's out for another couple more weeks. And you look at the injuries. I know every team get injuries. I know every team's got injuries, and we are struggling massively.
Yeah,
But mainly defence is killing us.
yeah.
Wan-Bissaka's been out majority of the season. Luke Shaw,
Luke Shaw out. Yeah.
Varane, Martinez. Obviously, they're the big name players we mainly need.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Onana's had a bit of a shake. I mean, in spells, obviously, Onana's made some cracking saves, but you know, he has had spells of making mistakes and whatnot. And
It's the same with any player that come from a different league, especially a Serie A. You come
yeah,
to the Premier League, you're dealing
you
with
don't get the
much
time.
more physical. Yeah,
Don't get
De
the time
Gea
with
was
the
the
ball.
same when he first signed. Look at the shaky start he had in his first season at United. All right, we're talking 10 years ago,
Yeah.
but De Gea was exactly the same. Then look how he turned out. I'm not
Well,
saying Onana's going to be like De Gea, but it would be nice.
yeah. I mean, there was some talk in the papers that they were looking at maybe offering De Gea a short-term contract, but I think that was a bit of misleading paper talk, etc.
Me personally, I can't see it.
I couldn't see it, to be honest. I mean,
No,
from his perspective, after the way he was treated and, you know, not being able to say a proper goodbye to the fans, etc.,
yeah,
I would have stuck two fingers up at him anyway.
yeah, 100%. And 375 grand a week that he was on at United. Now he's on nothing.
Well, yeah, and to my understanding, obviously the supposed short-term contract that was being muted were obviously the figures were nowhere near that kind of amount of
Oh, of
money.
course. Yeah.
I mean, he is only relatively young. Is he what, 32, 33? What's his
32,
age?
33. Yeah, he's
For a
still a young
goalkeeper.
keeper.
For a goalkeeper. I know there's been some talk this week about him potentially signing a short-term deal with a team in La Liga. So
I
we'll
heard
see.
it's
We'll
Real
see if that
Betis,
happens.
apparently.
something like that. I think they're struggling and whatnot, so I think they were looking at doing something.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then of course you've got all this stuff with Andy has been invaded by a cat. Brilliant. Oh, that we're
I knew
clipping
that was
that.
going to happen. As soon as it ran in, I was like, here it comes.
We're clipping that. That's gonna we have to make a little clip of that. But
Wait, it just
yeah,
jumped up.
I mean, obviously you've got the Jim Ratcliffe. I'm sure it's Jim. It's Jim, isn't it?
Yeah, Jim Ratcliffe,
The Ratcliffe
25%
deal.
of the company.
And then obviously he's making these statements that he's going to be, that he's going to change this. He wants to sell XXX amount of players, this, that, and the other, all like revolutionize the running of the club. And I'm like, well, I'm not quite clear on how that works when you're only buying 25%, because you've not got
If you put, if it was like the Qatarians, if the Glazers didn't mess about and obviously got the Qataris in, we'd be in probably in so much more better situation we are now.
I mean, obviously we're not privy to the conversations that happen at boardroom level in terms of what that bid from the other potential buyer, like, what that entailed. So we don't know, the ins and outs of the financial aspect of it. I mean, I know the Glazers have talked about wanting somewhere between that, like 6 to 8 billion mark for United. I think Ratcliffe's 25% works out about 1.5, 1.8?
Be like 1.5 billion or something like that, wouldn't
it? Yeah. So if you that kind of like, that gives you a valuation, i.e., if he then goes on and purchases the rest of, i.e., sort of 6 billion.
Yeah.
But the Glazers are sitting pretty. They can get investment in, so money can get spent on players, not their capital, to a degree.
Yeah,
and they still get
to
reap in 75% of the rewards, if you like. I think it's
they're crafty, but they know what they're doing.
I think maybe it's a sort of like a test or a test in the water kind of thing with to see if Ratcliffe will be a fit long term going forward.
There could be a possibility being that way.
Yeah, I think maybe if all parties are happy, then they can obviously move forward and he can purchase more of the club.
Yeah, would be nice. It would be nice, but the Qataris the Glazers could have just sold to Qataris, then that was it. Job done. Nothing else to worry about. Glazers would have been sitting with £6 billion in their pockets, no problem. But just another heartache for the fans, really.
It is, but I mean, if we're looking at your current form, like you say, I mean, it's not been that bad. It's only one defeat in 5.
That's surprising as well, because we're in the last 5 games, we're the most informed team. But then it don't make sense, really.
But then I suppose it's the performance aspect of it, isn't it?
It's only beat Luton Town 1-0 at home.
Yeah, it's not been the most. Apologies for my sniffles. I've got a bit.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm not far behind you, mate.
Yeah, in terms of performance levels, I mean, I know Anthony's taken a lot of criticism for the way he's played.
Here comes the cat again.
It's been a lot of money that you spent on Anthony, and I don't see anywhere that he's delivered at all. I mean, I know Ten Hag's defended him and says he's doing a job for the team. He does this, he does that. I don't see it.
I don't see it. All he does is just run at players and then he gets tackled.
Loses the ball.
Don't get it wrong. He's got a crack in some of the goals he has scored with his left foot. He's scored 3 goals
in very, very short, short blitzes. We've seen the player that we saw
at Ajax.
Yeah.
But you can say that about half the players at United. You can say that obviously before the whole situation with Sancho.
Yeah, I mean, this is not
like Sancho Dortmund.
He's not new to the Premier League now, so he should have an understanding of what the performance levels are required.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then another one that struggled, and we'll touch on this. See what your thoughts on that is obviously Mason. And I'd be amazed if there isn't a part of him that regrets the decision that he's made. Obviously not financially because he's raking it in, but
he's raking it in now. Obviously his injury didn't help. No.
I mean, I caught about the last 25 minutes of the game. And he was running around, but it just feels like he had very little effect when he was playing for Chelsea. It just felt like to me that he was, you know,
He was trying.
he was crucial to the gameplay. He was like a link player between the midfield,
Yeah.
and the attack. And
But then is
I
that
just don't
that's
see it.
I think that's how Ten Hag is playing though.
Yeah,
He's playing Bruno, who's a centre attacking mid on the right wing, for example, on the right mid.
yeah, and they're kind of like
He's
obviously
playing
like
Rashford. He's playing Rashford on the left.
yeah, and his form's been in a bit in and out, a bit flattering to deceive as well.
It's all the players. The only one recently who's actually played out of skin,
It's probably Maguire,
who's earned is Slabhead, yeah.
which is a remarkable turnaround for him
Well,
personally.
absolutely.
I
Don't get
mean,
me wrong. I was calling out for him to be sold when West Ham nearly bought him, and then obviously he's took his time. He's come back in. You're just thinking, wow,
yeah,
a
I mean,
completely different Maguire. This is the Maguire we signed from Leicester a couple
isn't
of
it
years ago.
ironic? Isn't it ironic though that a player very, very literally, I mean, we're talking within hours of leaving
Yeah,
the club, and then all of a sudden, he's back in there, he's pulling
it's
out
it's the same with
performance.
McTominay.
I mean, I've always liked McTominay. Yes, he's not,
He's
he's not.
not United material, but once again,
Well, do you know what? Out of a lot of the players that you've signed, I would say he's more a United player. I mean, what we talk about,
do you want to hear this? He's our top goal scorer in the Premier League.
which is insane, and and
Says it all, really, don't it?
he's only really come in the last 5-6 games as a
That's what I
regular
mean. He's
start.
our top goal scorer. He's rescued us with some crucial 3 pointers.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's a good player. Do you know what he reminds me of? As a sort, he's a bit. I would say he's probably a bit more dynamic, in terms of his gameplay, but he does remind me a bit of Nicky Butt.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
I just think Ten Hag's playing him in the wrong position because yes, he's not really a defensive mid.
No, no, I think, and we
You
see
leave that
now.
job to Ericsson and
But then,
Casemiro when
but then
he's
that's
fit.
another thing though, because Ericsson's not a defensive mid either, and that's the problem. That's the problem. You know, when you brought in Casemiro, brilliant signing. You brought in Amrabat, who has made his name playing as a defensive mid
Yeah,
throughout in the World Cup,
top
and
Florentina.
on league form. And he sat on the bench. You've got Ericsson, whose legs look like they're going a bit. If we're
Yeah,
being really honest, don't get me wrong, always going to be brilliant on the ball. You're never really going to lose that to
yeah.
a degree. But I don't know.
It's
Square pegs, round holes, that kind of thing.
absolutely. It's just sort of smash and grab like it was against the Luton.
Mm.
It just sort of fell to Lindelof. Lindelof said, "Fuck it, I'm going to hit it." Excuse my French if people don't like the language.
That's fine. We've last episode we had a bit of swearing. I always put a warning on there when people come back and they listen to it. I click the little explicit box, so don't
Yeah,
worry. And
it's
we're
it's
just letting the
literally it was a
Spurs talk.
smash and grab, and Lindelof of all people scored.
Yeah, and of course he's been having to fill in multiple positions across the back as well. Obviously, missing Luke Shaw is a big one. Malacia out injured as well.
I think that's been obviously as well as Varane, Martinez, and Shaw. They're our three biggest hitters. But then,
And then he'll play, and then all of a sudden, he'll leave Wan-Bissaka out, who I think has been pretty good this season, and then
yeah,
he'll play Dallo, and I think all right, Dallo might give you a little bit more in terms of going forward.
yeah,
But I think Wan-Bissaka's the better defender,
it's
and all
just
right,
a solid defender. He
yeah,
is not afraid to stick his foot in. He's not afraid to take you out. That's
yeah,
what you want from a defender.
yeah.
Don't give a monkeys. I'm going to take you out.
And ultimately, all right, I know the modern fullback has changed in many ways,
Absolutely.
and they are expected to be, a forward player as well. We've seen that with obviously with Trent, at Liverpool. We see it with
Trent
Reece.
and James with Chelsea.
Yeah, to a degree, Trippier does that job
Yeah,
well as well. So there is that trend of, um, them being and of course you see it now with the modern tactics with what Spurs are doing, with what Pep's been doing, where the fullbacks kind of come inside and then start playing in, make up a four in midfield and stuff
yeah.
like that, which I don't really think you see either Dallo or Wan-Bissaka doing that.
No.
Um, Luke Shaw probably when he's back would be capable of doing that. You could see Luke Shaw obviously play at centre back before.
Yeah.
So Yeah,
That's
it's a weird one.
But
You
that
know,
also goes back to Ten Hag's tactics. So he's playing Johnny Evans in, no offence, the bloke's 35, but then you got a five times Champions League winner sitting on the bench in Varane.
I mean, what does that say about Varane's fitness levels, though? If he's not
Yeah,
capable of playing, one or two matches in a row, and then has to come out of the team because they might get injured again. And we saw it
yeah.
at Madrid, though. To be fair, he had his injury problems there and all. It's a lot of money to spend on someone that's going to be sat on the bench. Only 60% fit for most of the season.
And that is a shame because obviously, as you say, he's won five Champions Leagues, umpteen many La Ligas. You're like,
You know, you expect more.
yeah.
Yeah.
The one person I do expect more, and I really want more from, is a name on the back of currently my shirt I'm wearing, in Rasmus Højlund.
Yeah, and I think the thing with him is that you've bought raw ability. We see that with him at Atalanta that he
Yep,
wasn't he's not at the moment. Because I know because of the region he's from, and he's got that typical sort of like Haaland Viking look about him and
that's it.
whatnot. Similar kind of build.
Yeah,
I think people were maybe, if you hadn't watched a lot of Serie A and Italian football, maybe you were expecting a bit too much of him. Not you, but I mean just in general. Um,
well, that's it. He is our only striker.
yeah, well,
I don't,
yeah,
I don't care about Martial.
Martial.
The bloke
But
plays 10 minutes. He's injured for 6 months.
mm, but again, I mean that all comes back to the recruiting side of things. That comes back to you know the Glazers not putting money in at the right times. It's no good getting to January and then panic buying three or four players.
You know it's going to happen 'cause that's what happened January last year. All right, uh, Veghorst, he tried, but he was a hard work grafter.
Yeah, yeah, workhorse, but not
Sabitzer, I really liked.
yeah,
I was
not
surprised we didn't sign him
yeah.
because Sabitzer actually played very well. I
I
know, obviously,
actually
it's last
I
season.
think he is a very good player, and I think that's a bit of a missed opportunity given the
That
fact of the
was, and that
problems
was a
you've
very
got.
cheap buy.
Yeah, but I think probably you probably would have got him for 10 to
So it was
15
about
million.
10 million. It was rumored to be, but
Yeah,
but if they don't do this now with Amrabat, because Amrabat's been playing. All right, he had a dodgy game midweek against Copenhagen.
yeah, you can forget that a little bit, being it,
Yeah,
his first
you can have
season.
one. You can have one dodgy game every now and then.
Yeah, I think with the Hoyland situation, I do think that's a situation where you need patience with him and you need time. A lot of Chelsea fans have been a bit guilty with that with Nicholas Jackson as well.
Yeah,
You know, and we see today, albeit he wasn't a massive threat in the game, but he got his goal, and obviously he had the hat trick against Spurs. And for a young player, and obviously there's quite similar sort of parallels between the two.
100%.
Both like, I mean, what's Hoyland's what
Collins
19, 20?
20, I think, Hoyland.
Yeah, Jackson 22. That's
Yeah.
two young players in teams that are not playing particularly well. Obviously, United with with the much better league position at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a funny one. So where do you see? I mean, what for you is a successful season for United?
What do you mean? Sorry.
Well, I mean, where do you expect if I was to say to you, if you finish top four, you get chat or any kind of European football?
I'll take that on the chin. I'll absolutely take that. But then we're sixth at the minute, and
Yeah,
you look at
I
our whole
mean,
season, you're like, how are United sixth?
you've got
The
Everton,
start we had as well, so we got battered by Liverpool 7.
you got Everton next
Our
Sunday.
first two games, I don't really class that should be a win.
You should, but they've had a win this week, and then they're starting to play well, and they've got Calvert Lewin back fit, and things are starting to click. So I don't think that's
Yeah,
going to
it's
be
Calvin Lewin. Yeah,
an
that's
easy game. Calvert Lewin, a fit Calvert Lewin up against your current defence, Maguire aside, I think that could be a
well,
bit of a
Johnny
problem.
Evans is now out for a month, so that's him out. So it'll be Lindelof and Maguire and
Yeah,
Varane on the bench. God,
yeah.
can you go away, cat?
And then you've got
No.
on the Wednesday of that following
Yeah,
week as well. You've got Galatasaray away
yeah.
in Champions League.
So hard to score the winner.
Yeah. Then yeah, back into December, Newcastle away,
Yeah, that's an easy win for Newcastle.
and then 6th of December.
Chelsea.
Yeah, it'd be
An informed Chelsea at the minute.
well. I think it's only like one defeat in 7 for us now in
Yeah.
all competitions. I think it is. So yeah,
But
maybe
considering we
maybe
both
things are on the
had
turn.
disastrous starts.
Well, we both had pretty. I mean, I know you qualified for the Champions League last year, but I mean, I don't. Yet again, performance wise, I think both of us were pretty disappointed with our seasons last year.
100%.
Yeah,
It's,
and I've got one
but
for
that's
you
football. That's Premier
because,
League football.
and I've got one for you because as well. 17th of December,
Hmm.
home to Bayern Munich with a certain striker coming along who you probably really should have bought.
I'm just going to do that.
Yeah, you know,
17 goals in 10 games. We're going to get absolutely bum raked.
I mean, Kane's had a phenomenal start out there. I know people that say, the Bundesliga is not Premier League level, but I think in terms of like physicality side of thing, the pace of the game, I think the Bundesliga and the Premier League are relatively sort of similar, but obviously there's not the complete level of quality of teams out there. So, but I
But
think
then, Bayern Munich are not top of the Bundesliga, though.
they're not. Um,
They're not.
they're not, and that's
I think
because
they're
there's
second, aren't they?
we yeah I'll get the table up because it makes interesting reading out there. We are obviously, this is predominantly United pod that we are talking United, but we are talking other aspects of football as well. So let's go and have a look at the Bundesliga table because I can pull it
I'm
up.
sure they're second because there was a stat come up of who's actually top of each league, and I didn't see
Yeah,
a Bayern
so
Munich logo.
they're second. Them and Bayer Leverkusen have both played 11 games. um yeah and they're both
And
on
they're 2 points off top as well. I don't
they're both on
know.
incredible win streaks at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
Leverkusen 31.
29 for Munich.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so yeah, mate. But they are flying. I mean, you look at the wins in a row. I mean, it's not going to be an easy game.
No, of course not. But then I didn't expect us to lose 4-3 at the Allianz.
No.
I did not expect that. I expected 4-3 against obviously Copenhagen going down to 10 men, which bearing in mind is not a red card. If anyone football fan comes at me with that.
I think, I mean, the thing yet again, and what I would have seen with previous Man United managers is like, especially under say Ferguson or even Moyes for that matter, you're 2-0 up. Surely then you bring Lindelof on earlier or whatever, you bring on Amrabat, shut the game down,
Yep.
deny the space, sit deep. You've still got the pace of like a Rashford and on the counter attack if you get away, if they're coming onto you too much
Until we get sent off.
to get sent off. But I think more importantly, where that game really turned it, I don't think it necessarily was the Rashford red card. I point more to Johnny Evans going off because
No.
I think that really threw your defensive stability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also that one a handball on a slab head as well. How can someone 2 inches away head the ball against Maguire's arm, not even 2 feet away,
And it count like that, yeah.
and it counts? But then you look at some of the decisions going against, once again, I'm going to sound very biased, some of the decisions going against Man United, you're like,
Well,
where's the
mate,
consistency
mean,
in
I don't.
VAR?
If we're going to talk VAR, I mean, that's a whole
We'll
podcast.
be here all bloody day.
Which, you know what, we'll have to have that. We get a couple of us on.
Yeah, we get a couple of fans on, all
we
different,
get
all
like,
like not just Man United, Chelsea. We get like obviously
well,
your
no,
mate from Spurs and that.
yeah, Paul. I know Paul would have a lot to say, especially after. I mean, I've not spoken to Paul that much since that game.
Or the Wolves game.
No, well, I mean, I'm going to message him because obviously it's 13 hours time difference. So it's currently
But it's like 11 midday over there, isn't it?
yeah, it's like 10 to midday. So Paul will be at work. So I don't want to get on him while he's at work. So I'll leave it until the late evening, and then I'll drop him a message because for them, obviously, that's 2 defeats in a row now. And to be fair, Paul called it after that result. What he messaged me was, "That's the season over,"
but they're
which
still top.
not anymore. I believe that point put City back top.
I don't,
Liverpool and Arsenal have leapfrogged them as well, mate. Yeah.
I didn't think so. So sure, weren't Spurs too clear?
Uh, they were, but obviously losing to Wolves and everyone else, picking up wins has really done
Oh,
them in.
Spurs are 2 points behind now. They're fourth.
Yeah, this is
Wow.
it. And if results had gone the other way, if we'd have got a win today, if we had have done it, and results had gone really quite remarkably, Villa could have ended up top of the table this weekend if results had gone the other way.
That's mental. It just
And
proves how this league goes.
well, I've got obviously my landlord and housemate Stevie, albeit he's a Swansea fan, he has got a bit of an affinity for Aston Villa, and he pointed out to me, the incredible run of form that Unai Emery has taken Villa on.
Absolutely. What a job that bloke has done. Obviously, I know
Yeah.
it's meant to be a Man United podcast, but Bryce, you're going to big up a manager. It's got to be Unai Emery all day long.
Well, apologies for the sneeze. Jesus Christ, what a time for me to start getting the sneeze. I haven't taken my antihistamine tablets today, so I'm gonna blame it on that. We've had not a question about United or
There
anything.
we go. We've got one.
I've got a Barry has asked, who do I support? Well, I'm a Chelsea fan, and live with me on YouTube is Andy, who's a Man United fan. So if you've got any questions for Andy about Manchester United, feel free to ask them. And like I say, if you want to watch the full experience and full pod, if you click the link in the bio, and you can come across to the YouTube channel, and then you can join in on there as well, because we have a live chat running on there. But you can ask any question, whether it's Chelsea, whether it's Man United, or anything football related, and both me and Andy will give you an answer.
That's the whole point of this.
That is the whole
Literally
point.
talk
Yeah.
football.
This is we are talking football, and this is a live broadcast. So yeah, anything can happen. Any question can come in, and we don't mind. We'll take questions from near and afar.
Absolutely.
As long as the battery on Andy's tab lasts. And what percentage are you on, by the way?
50. So it's only gone down 7% in what? 45 minutes. So it's not
That's,
bad.
that's not bad at all, mate. We're doing really. That's pretty good. At mind you, it's Android. It's not Apple,
It's
is it?
literally it's brand new. I've had it 2 weeks, so I
If
hope
that
it lasts.
if that had been an iPad, it'd have been dead by now. I don't
Yeah,
get me wrong.
that's right.
Love
My
Apple
little fancy
products.
pen.
Love Apple products, and I love my iPhone. But yeah, but there we go. I digress. Anyway, back to where we were. So yeah, I think so for you, obviously you got FA Cup third round coming in the new year.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know who you've drawn in that actually. Let me have a look. I would normally say let me have a look, Alice, but no one would know what the vaguest thing I'll be talking about. Right, so obviously the fixtures on there only go up until the 14th anyway, so we
Yeah.
can't. I can't look at the BBC website for that. But I
Oh,
can.
it's being drawn. No, that's next year.
I'm sure it's been drawn. First round replays.
Because there's still a first round replay. I know I think Barnsley have got a replay against their.
Yeah, 2nd of December you've got the second round proper. So yeah, we'll have to wait for them fixtures to come out. There's no fixtures there, so it's just the fixtures in the weekend. From the Friday the 1st through. There's some really good games in there. I mean, some massive named teams that are in the second round proper.
Yeah, I think. Well, I was in a pub the other day and I was like, I'm watching, was it Horsham something playing Charlton? And I was
Okay.
like, and there's this team like the ninth tier of football with a second round of the FA Cup and they got a replay against Charlton.
Well, I mean, and I'll give him a little shout out actually, because I hopefully I'll need to message him. Apologies, Don. So the owner of Mikolova FC up in Derby, which is a non-league local club in Derby, hopefully I'm going to be having Don, who's the owner of the club, coming on the
Hmm.
pod. So I've kind of really started getting quite invested in non-league football and keeping up with the the goings on,
National
and
League, and
yeah, and that kind of started obviously with the whole Wrexham story, watching the Wrexham documentary
I've not
on
watched
the
it yet. I heard everyone saying watch it, but I didn't have time to scratch my own arse. Let alone watch the whole
well,
series on telly.
yeah, I mean, if you get a chance, obviously it's Disney Plus, so it is subscription
Yeah.
wise, or there are other ways that you can view it.
Oh, I can.
What stick?
No, I've just got an app on the phone and I can watch anything. See, Android.
There we go. So
But no,
yeah,
I still
well,
keep an eye on Dragon and Redbridge, and they were live on what TNT as it is known now, not BT. But I watched Dagenham lose to Solihull Moors yesterday.
okay. Well, we have had a question, and it is a controversial question.
Ooh,
Um,
I like these ones.
I'll read it out, because I think this is a problem in generally in society and football. So we're going to get a bit serious for a minute.
Way.
So he asked, how do you feel about the renowned problems with racism surrounding Chelsea FC and their fans?
Ooh,
It's a heavy question. Me personally, because I've got friends from all over the world, from every different, you know, background. Uh, so I'm not comfortable with any form of racism that happens
100%.
in stadiums. I know, obviously, talking obviously this is predominantly about Man United, and of course, Man United players in Jadon Sancho, Marcus Rashford have all suffered that as well.
Rashford massively, especially after
Yeah,
uh, the England game and England a couple of years ago when he missed a penalty.
yeah,
The
and what I will
amount of
say,
abuse he got.
yeah, well, that was that. Yeah, I mean, what I will say on the Chelsea issue is yet again, and there's a massive history of violence and trouble between Chelsea and Spurs going back literally to 1909.
Mm,
The 67 Cup final, everything like that. And yet again, there was racist, uh, and racist chanting, homophobic chanting, and I just don't feel that there's a place for it. I'm not comfortable with Chelsea fans behaving in that way. I'm not comfortable with any fans behaving that way. I mean,
there's just no need for it. If you're going, you just keep it to yourself.
yeah. The thing is that you've got people from every background in the world in a football stadium. You've got kids there as well. And
Yes,
what sort of level of example are you setting to, you know, young people in this world if they think that that kind of behavior is acceptable in society?
well,
Um,
it
you
was
know,
the same in the. It wasn't so much the racist thing, but in the Copenhagen game we just had at United, Bruno was trying to take a corner, and everything was just getting thrown at him with bottles, coins, lighters. Everything was just all Bruno was trying to do is do his job and take a corner.
yeah. I mean, I know obviously I know British football gets highlighted on this issue quite a bit.
Yeah,
But I still, I mean, I still think that we're ahead, um, because we are talking about I mean, let's be very clear on this. We're talking about small minorities. When you've got 40,000 people like at Chelsea in a stadium, 74,000 people at Old Trafford, you're talking about a handful of people that are doing this.
it
Um,
only takes that one, two people to
yeah,
sit there and ruin the whole game, don't it?
exactly. And so I don't know what the answer is, because we've talked about, you've had the Kick It Out program, Show Racism, the Red Card. You've had many, many different campaigns. You've had
It's even sponsored on all the football players' shirts now.
exactly
No room for
no
racism.
room for racism, and yet it happens.
It
And I
still
think
happens.
that maybe that's a bigger thing within society. And just to step away from the football aspect of it, just for a brief second, that you know, being it Remembrance Sunday, Armistice Day on the 11th, and yet
Protesters all
we had
over the
protests.
whole of
Now,
London.
my personal opinion on that is, I don't believe on that. But there's always a time, and we're very lucky in this country that we have the freedom of speech to a quite a big degree, that we can actually say what we feel. We can protest the way we feel about things that are going on in the world. I'm not going to touch on, the conflicts in Ukraine and Russia. I'm not going to touch on the conflicts with Israel, Palestine, because I don't think I don't think I would be well enough informed to make my comment on that. I know
we don't know the whole. We're just two guys who known each other for a few years now, and we ain't going to know the whole stories unless we physically there.
I'm being a union rep for 17 years, obviously, and participating in a lot of protest marches and rights marches and that down the years. I have had a knowledge of the issues that that have happened in these regions. My personal opinions on that will be kept to myself, because nothing what we say here or nothing that anyone says on social media is really going to have any kind of effect with what goes on in these countries. The only thing that actually stops any of these kind of things, conflicts, and that, is when the people involved get around the table and talk it out. You're not going to solve anything with a gun and a bomb.
Yep, that's it.
Because if you carry on, violence breeds violence. So if you have a violent attack on you and your way of dealing with that is to use more violence, then you're just going to create more violence.
You're just going to cause more chaos than anything.
Yeah. So if we're looking at that and taking that kind of aspect into football, what do we do with fans that behave in inappropriate ways?
It's the only thing, they just get banned for life. But then
but
it's not really a win-win for the person who's been abused.
Doesn't solve the wider issue for me.
No, it don't one bit.
No. So there we go. We've answered the question. We've talked relatively serious, and we'll steer back towards the football now anyway. So yeah, obviously FA Cup, still in the FA Cup, because you haven't, being Premier League, we join in round 3. So I think if we look at what a successful season for Man United looking ahead is going to be, before we touch on any other football aspects, if I was to say to you, say cup semi-final or final appearance in the FA Cup, get out the group in the Champions League, maybe make quarters-ish, whatever, and then finish back in the top 4. I mean, you taking...
I think you're pushing it with the getting out of group stage, because you think that 4-3 loss at Copenhagen, that was the game to win to put us in the running, because now, as you say, we've got Galatasaray away and then Munich at home. Galatasaray, I forget what their stadium was called, but even then, that's not an easy place to go. Istanbul.
Well, I mean, you are currently bottom of the group.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We're currently bottom, 2 draw. No,
you're only a point off of Copenhagen. Copenhagen and Galatasaray have both got 4 points. You're on 3 points. So it is turnable, difficult. I mean, if you beat Galatasaray, you'd be relying on Munich to beat Copenhagen. You'd expect that to happen.
You expect that, but now they've qualified. Will they go for the full bang and try and smash them to pieces?
I don't think Thomas Tuchel knows any other way. I think he will. I think he'll go for them. I think he'll go for them and really try and hammer them.
Will Thomas Tuchel try and help Man United out? That's the thing.
I don't know. I don't necessarily think. I think it's just the Bayern Munich. I don't think the Bayern Munich fans would settle for him making mass changes and then
dropping Harry Kane for a game.
Yeah, and of course Harry Kane's going to be looking at. He's already eyeing up Lewandowski's 51 goal across all competitions.
If he doesn't do that, I'll be so worried.
Well, to be honest, I mean, looking at the other aspect of it with what he's doing out there is brilliant for England as well.
Yeah,
I think if I was Gareth Southgate, I'd be looking at the Bayern Munich setup and tactics and thinking, okay, so this is how I get the best out of Harry Kane in an England shirt, and then with the attacking talents that we've got, you could easily replicate what Munich are doing in terms of system and whatnot.
Especially that would be nice.
especially with our forward players, the likes of Rashford, Saka, Bellingham in midfield and whatnot.
And Bellingham's in absolute amazing form himself.
Well, I mean, that's another player that opted, when he looked like he was obviously going to leave Dortmund, there were conversations about United and him
Well,
and
Liverpool, wasn't it?
Liverpool as well. Liverpool were in there and all, and he knocked both of you back because he felt that Real Madrid wanted him more and showed him more, more love and more opportunity.
And there you go. That's
And
all
now
it
it
takes
looks.
nowadays. Same with Harry Kane going to Munich.
Apologies for my snot coming out my nose. It's really disgusting.
But then that's a big change for Harry Kane because he's played in England all his life. It's not like, for instance,
Yeah.
Jude Bellingham obviously went from Birmingham to Germany,
Well, there
and
was a
obviously
lot of
now
talk.
he's in Madrid.
Yeah, so there was a lot of talk about Kane, and that he wasn't settled out there, and he wasn't enjoying life and all that. Well, if that's Harry Kane not enjoying life and not feeling settled and scoring 17 goals, imagine what he would have done if he had been settled. That's scary.
That's very scary thought.
Yeah, but yeah, so I think we've pretty much covered most of what we need to talk about with United, really. So we spoke about the boardroom changes, recent form, Ten Hag tactics. Yeah, I mean,
We can go on about Ten Hag's tactics. It's just been
yeah,
so questionable. You're meant to be this top class. Obviously, he's a top class manager. What he's done at Ajax over the years, and he comes to Man United, got us our first trophy since Mourinho. And you're like, okay. And then this season, you're like, well, what the fuck?
yeah. What's going on here?
What's going on? We get
I think
battered by
you've
Newcastle,
obviously,
absolute bum rates by Liverpool,
I think you've
smashed by
obviously suffered
City.
a little bit the same way we have in that with the injuries
Yeah,
and stuff like that to key players, and that can really affect it. I mean, and now we're starting to get players coming back,
hundred
and
percent. You think
yeah,
we didn't have a striker for like the first 6 games because Hoyland was injured. We
yeah.
signed him
I
and
think
boom,
for
he's
you,
injured.
I think we get Casemiro back in the new year, um, or whenever he's back. I don't know what his injury's
He's
like.
meant to be back for uh, just the end of the month.
Yeah, and
November
then
17th. He's been after the international meant to be back.
so I think if we get you back on here, after Christmas.
Mm.
And then we have a little look and see, if the form's picked up and that, and see, and then obviously we'll be into the January transfer window. So then that's going to be real key for both our clubs, really, because I think, we're both probably going to look to add significant signings.
I reckon
Particularly,
we're both going to get rid of a lot of dead wood as well.
well, we've already done that, which has obviously been the biggest part of our problem with our form. We, literally got rid of like 20, 22, 23 players, and then
I
we've
think
had
Chelsea needed that though.
big time. One for because you can't, despite the fact that we've got very, very wealthy owners, actually, the owners that we've got, put what money Abramovich had,
Yeah,
as pocket money, to be fair. But, with FFP, and it's the same with Man United, with FFP, you have to find a way that you can make that work and get around it.
here's FFP question: Man City.
Well, I mean, I'm not a fan of FFP, and I'll tell you why. Because I think it punishes small clubs,
Yeah,
right? Because, and I'll give you an example in the Premier League. All right, Bournemouth.
Bournemouth,
Well,
Luton.
well, right, wealthy owner, Bournemouth.
Yeah,
Bournemouth's owner, but the guy who's taken over at Bournemouth, he's a fairly wealthy man. The owner they had before was relatively wealthy, but this guy has got money.
mm.
But he's got a ground that only holds 11,000 fans. You know, you've got a great catchment area down there in Bournemouth. You haven't got many clubs in and around them. And I'm sure if they had a 25, 30,000 seat stadium, I'm pretty sure they'll fill it.
Mm.
But because they're limited with that, and they don't really have a massive match day revenue,
No.
so they'll rely on having to sell a star player every couple of years to fund what they do in the transfer market, because they're limited by FFP, and you're limited to what you can spend dependent on your
What
revenue
you earn.
and what you can do in that revenue period over 3 years.
Yeah.
So I just don't think it's fair. So you can't compare a budget, FFP budget, with our clubs with what someone like a Bournemouth can do, or any other newly promoted club coming into the Premier League.
Luton, but
Luton, Sheffield United. You know, I mean, Luton have had to spend 10 million to get the ground. All right, that's them being a victim of their own success, and they are building a new stadium elsewhere.
Yeah.
But they've had to spend 10 million to make their ground Premier League compliant.
Yep.
Which obviously has to go. That comes out of what they could potentially have spent on players, puts a dent in the revenue. So I don't think FFP works. I don't think it's fair, and I think the big clubs, with all their clever lawyers that they can pay a fortune for, will find loopholes and they'll find ways around it.
Well, that's probably why it's no offense. I know it's biased me saying it. That's probably why City's not been done yet.
No, and obviously we found a little loophole around it because we've been buying these players who, by the way, are nowhere near the amount of money of wages per week that some people might think they're on because of the transfer fees we paid.
Yeah,
because they're young players, they're on significantly lower amounts of money than the players that we let go. You know, the Mendy's, the Aubameyangs, Kantes, etc. So that's why we're FFP compliant, because
Mount,
one we're doing it over, like a 7 or 8 year contract, and then
what was that Mudrick's, wasn't it?
all of them we signed, all on long contracts.
That's mental.
And of course, you're paying those at sort of like, in terms of FFP, you're staggering the contract over that amount of time. So your overall net spend, so you sign a Mudryk for 80 million, but on an 8 year contract, you're only going to be paying back 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 million a season into that budget. So that's where it works. And of course, all the other big clubs are going, hang a minute, why didn't we think of that too? That's not right. Surely they can't do that. And obviously in European football, in UEFA licensed European leagues, they have a cap on the contract of 5 years. And I know the Premier League now, because of what we've done, and now looking to implement the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, but obviously don't make a difference to us now because we've already done our business. We've brought in like 20 odd players that are all, I think we got the youngest squad in the Premier League by far.
Yeah.
So we've future proofed ourselves going forward, and it's just a case of whether or not we can develop those players into, world class players and see where we go with them. And we could even be in a situation where, one or two of those players then get sold on for even bigger money in the future. Yeah. Is that the cat attacking you again?
No, it's a dog this time.
Oh, you got a dog attacking you.
Yeah.
It's like animal. It's like the Animal House. What's going on? That's a big looking dog. Cat. What is that?
German Shepherd.
Oh, I love German Shepherds. Great dogs. My uncle had a German Shepherd. Mindy, beautiful dog. There we go. So we've talked politics. We've talked, world conflicts. We've talked football, and now we're talking animals. Don't say that the Talk Football podcast doesn't give you a little bit of everything.
Should we talk about cars while we're here? Talk about London? Fuck yeah.
To be honest, I could talk about Formula One, but I'm not going to. I was considering actually starting a Formula One podcast as well, but
I've actually got into it like this season. I've actually got into it.
Do you know what? I have and I haven't, because obviously Verstappen being so dominant, and me being a bit of a McLaren fan and a Mercedes fan, it's like, it gets boring if there's no challenge.
But have you noticed when there was talks of Verstappen's car being talked about why it's so fucking fast, and then didn't he come 9th for something that race afterwards?
Yeah, but then all of a sudden he's back where he is, and now they're all talking about Mercedes' car being a bit, because obviously Lewis got he had that disqualification, didn't he? So but yeah, anyway, never mind. So so to finish off, and I've got to do this because it's just been an incredible week for my club, really.
Yeah,
the Spurs result. But I'll tell you what, and I will say this, and not that anyone from them are going to be watching, but I hope it does filter back to them. And I did actually, I don't know if you saw it, but I did stitch one of their videos, Chelsea Fan TV.
Yeah.
They interview the same Muppets every week who seem to, and they seem to get them when they're coming out the ground pissed up. And I think that's a real poor reflection on who we are as Chelsea fans. And it kind of alludes to the question that was asked earlier on the TikTok chat. And I think that paints a real bad picture of my club. So Chelsea fan TV, stop trying to be like Arsenal fan TV. Sort yourselves out. Do some proper interviews with people, talking sense and not just sensationalistic rambling. Because there's real fans out there that could actually have a real good voice, in my opinion. So yeah, that's my little rant on Chelsea fan TV. But I mean, today's game, wow. I mean, honestly, mate, I honestly thought, and obviously, we'd messaged a couple of times and that during the day, and obviously you said,
Yeah,
being a United fan, you hope we beat them. And yet again, because of the way things have gone the last sort of 18 months, I couldn't really see us getting a result. And that's me being a bit pessimistic.
but
I
then
know that.
4-4.
But it was an incredible game. And literally from the first minute, we had the whole attitude of my boys were like, let's have them. We're having them today. And
Well,
they were just on it from minute
well,
one.
that's it. I was on holiday at a caravan site, and I watched the Arsenal game.
Mm.
I'm like,
There were
where's this
periods.
Chelsea been all of a sudden? All of a
Yeah.
sudden, and I'm
When
just
the,
sitting. My mate's an Arsenal fan. He was sitting there with me. We had a few pints. Obviously, it was a bit wetty. And he's like, what's going on? Well, Chelsea,
yeah. To be
you
fair,
was just
like
annihilating them.
in every game that we've played, even the games where we've lost, like with the Brentford game, the pattern of play is that we start the game quick. We have a lot of possession. I think we're only second to City in terms of possession percentages across the
Yeah,
season, but we don't hurt teams.
yeah.
And I've said this before, if you're in a position where you don't hurt a team when you're on top and you have that, the opposition grows in confidence, and you've seen that yourself. I mean, even the Luton game with your guys, you didn't kill them off, and then the other team starts getting their agate. They start thinking, right, well, they're not hurting us anymore. So, and you get a bit of confidence, and then you think, right, it's nothing to fear here. So then they have a go back, and if your defense is a bit fragile, which we
The,
saw with us with the Brentford game,
yeah.
you get done.
The biggest example of that type of football was like the Man United team of '08. When for instance, you're looking at other teams, then
Yeah,
for instance, say obviously the Arsenal, for example. Arsenal coming to Old Trafford, you got to face a very informed Cristiano Ronaldo, Dimitar Berbatov, Wayne Rooney, Carlos Tevez, Nani. You look at it and fuck.
yeah,
That's what you want from a football team, not just Man United, from Arsenal, Chelsea, City, Liverpool. You look at Man City,
yeah.
you come up against
You
De
want to
Bruyne, Haaland,
you want
Bernardo
to frighten
Silva.
teams.
Yeah, that's it. You look at these teams, you're like, especially obviously, for instance, Man City at a minute. You look at Haaland, Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, fucking Rodri. You look at all
Yeah,
these players.
I mean,
We're gonna
obviously,
get battered.
I do think City, if I think if De Bruyne's out of the team for an extended period of time, I do see them starting to struggle. They will. I mean, there's not many teams that go and score 4 goals against Manchester City.
Mm,
So
there isn't.
from our perspective today, that was phenomenal. And I think, I mean, there was just so many good performances. Sterling was on fire. I mean, bearing
And
in
it's
mind,
about time he started performing in a Chelsea shirt.
to be fair, this season, mate, he's been really good. Sometimes, obviously, and all Chelsea players can be accused of this, but the end product hasn't always been there. We create a lot of chances. We have a lot of the ball, and then we don't hurt teams, and then we get done. But today there was I think maybe off the back of the Spurs game, there was a real sense of,
We can do this.
yeah, a bit of confidence. It's like
But
Pochettino's
it's
been trying
nice
to
to
drum that
see.
into them all season. He's been like, could see that the patterns of play, what he does on the touchline. He's been, saying, right, listen, come on, get in there, do
Uh,
this. Yeah, and I thought tactically today, I thought we got it spot on. City are an absolute machine, and going forward, they're very difficult to stop. Foden was really good today. Bernardo Silva was really good. Doku at times, really gave Reece James some
mm,
problems, and obviously Reece had to get at the moment, because he's only coming back from the injury slowly. We're getting 60, 70 minutes out of Reece, but when Reece is playing, it just brings a whole new dynamic to the team.
That's it. He's a big guy,
Mhm.
like muscly, but once again,
Brilliant
apparently
on
he
the
was man
ball.
marking Haaland's. That's
Well, the thing
you're
is,
not.
there
You
was
can't man mark him.
no, there were stages where Reece was sort of like coming inside because again, I was saying about this whole thing, this modern way of fullbacks playing, where
Hmm.
the fullbacks either one will do it one side or one from the other side. They take the turns and they come and drift into a central area, make up the midfield numbers, which obviously, enables another midfielder then to push on. And a lot of times that was Gallagher today that he was going on and helping Jackson press. And then because they were doing that, Cole Palmer was like just dropping in positions between centre halves, between the defensive
And that's when
midfielder.
you get in tactics right.
Yeah, I mean, of course, he knows how City, how they're going to play, which is obviously an advantage for him.
That's the even Sterling.
Yeah, and of course, Palmer was amazing today. I mean, the penalty aside, his actual performance was just phenomenal. But the way the intelligence of a young player to find space on a pitch, I mean, that shows a player of class.
And
It
he's
really
not even
does.
that old. He's
No,
still early teens, isn't he?
he's a kid, mate.
Yeah,
He's already played more minutes for Chelsea than he had done in his entire time at Manchester
that's
City.
it.
You know, and people laughed at us with the signing. Why are you paying 42
To be
million
fair,
pound for?
I'll hand my hands up. I did. I'm like, anyway, you're signing a kid for 42.5 million from Man City. Man City obviously can't like that.
Mate, a lot
But
of
then
Chelsea fans were saying the
bit him in
same,
the
and
arse.
I'm like defending him. I'm like, Mo, this kid's the real deal. This kid's class. And I've said it from on day one. I thought it was a cracking signing, absolute perfect replacement for Mount and Havertz
Hmm?
because he does both jobs arguably better than both of them two anyway,
Not hard.
which is not hard. We've seen with Havertz at Arsenal. I mean, touching on Havertz, you know, we've literally got all our money back from what we paid for him, and he's gone to Arsenal, and he's got the exact same problem at Arsenal that he had at Chelsea. Is where do you play him? Because Arteta when he signed him was talking about he playing this sort of like an 8 moving forward into a 10. That ain't worked. He's tried playing him more through the middle. That ain't worked. He's tried playing him off the right. That ain't worked. Because obviously Saka's there as well. So then you end up condensing space in the pitch. So, I think great business. So Mason Mount to you hasn't set the world on fire.
No.
So Kai Havertz to Arsenal hasn't set the world on fire. You've brought in over 120 million quid, and you've spent 42 million on a kid who's got nothing to fear, and that's
Yeah,
what I
he
love about
hasn't.
him. He's got nothing to fear. He come in, he's hit the ground running. He's arguably been this last maybe 5-6 games now. He's probably been our most influential player because
Well,
he's been the one who's
that's
linked everything together.
well, that's it. So I didn't watch obviously your City game today, but
Yeah.
I watched that Arsenal game where obviously he did score a penalty, but he was I don't know. No, it's Zinchenko. Zinchenko got took off at half time because
Mm.
Cole Palmer was just ringing rounds and rounds and rounds on him. You're like, that's Zinchenko.
I tell
Meant to be
you,
one of the greatest left
if
backs in the Premier League at the minute.
when you come off
And
of here, when we finish the pod and you get a chance, like go get on Match of the Day too,
yeah, oh, well, yeah,
rather than just doing the YouTube because obviously you only see the goals, but on Match of the Day too, you'll see a bit more of the overall play,
yeah.
and you just see how good he was. Cucurella was amazing today, a real
And
fighter.
that's saying something.
And do you know what? There was a turning point for Cucurella a few games ago. So we had obviously Reece was out injured. You had Marlo Gusto um, suspended because he got sent off.
Yeah.
So as an emergency situation, Cucurella ended up playing about three games right back. And do you know what? Bossed it. Absolutely bossed it. Played
That's
really
saying
well.
something.
There was only really the Brentford game, but that overall that was a team performance thing that weren't about one player individually. And then the last two couple of games. I mean, I know he only come on at half time against Spurs because Colwell had to go off injured, and Colwell obviously was missing today.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cucurella was amazing today, and Disasi and Thiago Silva at the back were brilliant. It looks a real
I
strong
I
partnership as well.
can't praise that bloke anymore in
Thiago
Thiago Silva.
I mean,
38 and is still
no, he's
bossing the
more.
Premier.
He's nearly
I'm sure
40
he's
now.
38.
No, he's nearly 40.
He's
He,
now.
and do you know what I love about it more than anything? I love his missus because she was out on the piss with the Chelsea fans at the Spurs game. Apparently she walked from like Northumberland Park all the way down with the Chelsea fans to the ground, traveling
No.
down with them, and then she was on the piss with them like before and after the game,
What a
sing,
ledge.
singing the Thiago Silva song and all that.
That's just minute. But how old that bloke is.
And arguably
And
probably one of the fittest in the club.
absolutely.
If there was ever a blueprint of of a player, a modern day centre half, and you say, right, this is the player you should model your game on. Thiago
Thiago
Silva.
Silva all
Yeah,
day long. All day long. And
yeah.
I
I mean, the age that we got him at, and to what he's gone on to achieve, Champions League winner with a club. I mean, the guy's going to go down as an absolute club legend. And he's probably only going to be with us 5 years. You know,
That's it. Obviously the football shirts I sell, and this Chelsea fan every season he always buy Thiago Silva.
yeah,
No one else, just
Thiago
Thiago
Silva,
Silva.
incredible
No one
player.
else.
Yeah, I mean, a bit unlucky for the one of the goals today. Stuck his foot out, deflected off of him, wrong-footed Sanchez. And again, even that, I mean, Sanchez, mate, you get a chance to see it later on. The save that Sanchez pulls off from a one-on-one with Haaland is incredible.
That's saying something to
Yeah,
stop a one-on-one with
mate.
Haaland, the absolute unit he
So
is.
the ball's gone through. Ball's been put through to yeah. Actually, do you know what? I'm gonna have to stop myself there because someone's just commented in the actual YouTube chat. It goes,
Yeah.
would have done anything to watch Thiago Silva and John Terry side by side.
Imagine that.
I mean, how on earth would you get past that? How on earth? I'll tell you what. If we're talking all time Chelsea, an all time Chelsea back four, Ashley Cole at left back,
Yep, all day long.
right?
JT.
Right, JT, and arguably you might have talked about, I can only talk about players that I've obviously watched at Chelsea. There's no point in me going about talking about players in the 60s and 70s because I wasn't there. I'm not that old. I might look it, but I'm not. So for me, in modern times, I probably would have put in Cavallio.
Ricardo Cavallo. Nah,
But
Thiago Silva
now,
over
but
Cavallo.
but now it's JT and Thiago, Ashley Cole left back, Petr Cech in goal, and then
Who would you have
push.
as right back though?
It's an easy conversation. I mean, I
Are you
love
gonna pick
Reece.
Dave?
No, I'm not. I'm not picking Dave. I'm not picking Reece, and I
Paulo
know,
Vieira?
I know, no, Ivanovic.
Branislav Ivanovic.
Mate, when he was moved into that right back slot for a few seasons, mate, he was incredible in that position because it was at the same time that Mourinho had moved Dave over to play at left back,
Mm.
and obviously, Dave won the title playing at left back,
Yeah.
and it would be, you know, incredible. Azpilicueta, club legend, captain, an incredible servant for the club. But I think Ashley Cole just
Ashley Cole
pinches
all day
him
long.
at left back. I think it'd be
Ashley Cole all day long.
whichever one of them in their peak would play there would be great anyway. But
It's
and
the
that'll be.
same with
Do you know what? That'd be
the
another pod for
United
another day.
defence. Yeah,
My
it's the same with the
my all
United
time.
defence. You're never
Yeah.
going to say anyone over than 30 in Vidic.
And because obviously growing up and watching United throughout the 90s and all that as well. So my, really close at left back between Evra and Dennis Irwin. Because albeit, bearing in mind, Dennis Irwin was a right-footed player who played at left
Yeah,
back, similar to Azpilicueta.
yeah.
So for me, this is just me being, and I watched a lot of Man United growing up. I even had a Man United shirt. I had
Oh,
mate, because this guy was the hero of mine, obviously, it was Cantona.
yeah.
I had the green and yellow split shirt.
Yeah, yeah.
with number 7 Cantona on the back. Because I'm just a massive fan of Eric Cantona, and especially when he karate kicks Crystal Palace fans. Not condoning violence,
Oops.
but yeah, no. For me, I would probably go with Evra, and then it's
Just for his.
it's Vidic and Ferdinand. But my God, does Yapstam get close? And then even Pallister and Bruce as well, throwing them in a mix. Right back, I can't go anywhere else other than Gary Neville.
If you're actually going on at the statistic record, Fernie and Vidic
I think. I
as
mean,
centre backs.
as a partnership, the great partnership. Although Pallister and Bruce had a really good partnership as well,
Absolutely, absolutely.
and obviously Yapstam was great. Gary Neville for me, right back, without question. And then for me, I
Yeah,
don't know how about you, Phil, but we've ended up going into a whole new podcast here.
we have.
For me, I don't know how you feel about it. I'll get your reaction. So for me, the midfield I'm picking for you, I'm going to go Beckham. I'm going for a 4-man midfield. So
Yeah,
I'm going
so 4-4-2. Yeah,
kind of.
all right.
It's going to be Beckham on the right,
Mm,
Scholes and Keane in the middle,
mm.
Giggs on the left.
That's
Mm. Now, there's many
you.
options you could pick up
Yeah,
top.
there's so many
Options.
options. You can even put in that midfield.
Yeah.
It didn't do. It don't show that it done much, but you can definitely throw like
Yeah.
Carrick in the midfield.
There's a lot. I mean, you could go back, and if you're talking forwards, you could be talking York and Cole, treble winning season, backed up by Solskjaer and Sheringham.
Yeah,
But I'm
and
going
then
to
you can
go,
look at the modern four, like I said earlier, with Rooney, Burby, Tevez,
yeah.
Ronaldo,
Me personally, I'm going with Ronaldo and Rooney up
Rooney.
front.
Yeah, don't
He's
get
a
me wrong.
club's
I
leading
loved
all-time goal scorer.
Berbatov.
Berbatov was a great player.
I loved
Um,
Berbatov. There was a video of him recently. He was just playing in the park with some
I
kids,
see
and
that, and they dressed him up as an old man.
they
Yeah,
dressed him up, and
yeah.
you're just watching just some of the touches he's doing. It's just like no player nowadays will do the touches that Berbatov did.
Well, we've had a comment from someone called Book. So the subject of the podcast is predominantly has been Man United. So if you've got any Man
Yeah,
United questions you'd like to ask Andy, feel free to ask those questions. We are, like I say, we are live on TikTok and here on YouTube. So yeah, predominantly the subject of this episode is Man United, but we are talking all football as well. So whatever comes about within the conversation, we will sort of detour off and talk about that as well. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, so we've gone down the route of and ended up like listing a Chelsea all-time 11, Man United all-time 11s now. So, but yeah, no, for me, it's just, I mean, so particularly under Ferguson, so many great. I mean, he like built 4 or 5 over
four or
like
five
20,
different squads.
28 years, whatever it was, and people criticized him. You go right the way back to class of 92, etc. And in that season, when Alan Hansen made the famous quote, "You win nothing with kids," and then of course they went on to win the title. It's very important to remember the decisions he made in that season. So I think that's the season when Ince went, Kanchelskis went, and there was a few other real sort of like key stalwart players that went in and around those couple of seasons. I think that was the time when like McClare sort of like moved on, and a few others. Hughes obviously
Stam as
joined.
well.
Yeah, Hughes joined Chelsea, and one
Yeah,
thing you can always say with Ferguson, he was never afraid um, to call time on a player. I mean, even Beckham, he had the falling out
The
with
Beck. I
Beckham.
watched I watched the Netflix documentary on the Beckham situation. And you just like
Yeah,
to
well,
call Beckham's career there and then.
yeah, Yap Stam. I mean, who would have
Yeah,
thought he would have dumped Yap Stam, but he did. Even when the whole Roy Keane situation, when Roy Keane made the interview with Man United TV that it hadn't been authorised, that he was put out to pasture as well, and that's like one of your ultimate captains.
mm-hmm.
So, there's certain aspects of Ten Hag that I see with similar kind of traits.
I was gonna say that, especially like the
Yeah,
Ronaldo,
Ronaldo
Sancho,
situation. Sancho. But that's another thing. What on earth do you do with Jadon Sancho? I mean, you've spent a lot of money on him.
But if it's true, what the whole couple of years now he's been at Man United, what has he actually done?
Nothing.
Scored a couple. All right, he scored a nice little goal against Liverpool.
No,
That's about it.
Yeah, he's literally done nothing really.
He has done nothing. That
you
money has just
know,
gone to waste. So I can see why Ten Hag's should have done it privately,
Ten Hag's
criticising.
he tried to. He gave him the time off to try and get his head sorted out. He came back. He had a few good performances, and then all of a sudden,
Oh,
off
this is
again.
going to have portion.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But it's exactly the same with Ronaldo. Now, obviously, we're talking about the world's greatest footballer player ever.
Yeah.
And you'll criticise, obviously, you're leaving the best man out ever.
Brave.
That is a huge call.
It is, yeah.
Way more than, for instance, Keno and Bex. This is Cristiano Ronaldo, who's basically he saved United's skin in the first season he came back.
Well, there's an interesting one, as an interesting name that Book's just thrown into the mix here. So I'll read this comment out for anyone that can't see it. So Man United to convert, they want him to convert the squad with some good high-ranking sort of like UK-based players, and then four or five like world-class foreign players maximum. And he thinks that Brendan Rodgers may be the man. I'm not so sure on that one myself. I'm not so sure as a whole. Man United fans would take an ex-Liverpool manager.
No, but we have taken ex-Liverpool players on.
Yeah, it's not unheard of. Not unheard of. Yeah, but we can save that for another day and another pod.
He doesn't play the right type of football.
No.
When he was at Leicester, obviously superb.
Well, yeah, won an FA Cup. So for Leicester, that's that is success.
Liverpool didn't really go down too well.
No, one title was obviously with Celtic, and probably will win titles again with Celtic. But that's just the nature.
That's not hard because it's only Celtic and Rangers.
Yeah, but yeah. Well, I think we've pretty much covered everything we need to cover on here.
Yeah,
because I need to go for a wee.
I've got work in 5.5 hours. I've got to be up for work 6.5 hours.
And to be fair, we could probably carry on talking like this for another 3 or 4 hours. But
easily,
why not save that for another episode?
Absolutely, especially as you're on double digits.
Exactly. Yeah. So this has been a brilliant episode actually, because one, it's double the length of most episodes we do. It's also the 10th episode in the current series. So yeah, it's been really good. We've talked about so many different things. So I hope obviously if people when they listen back on Spotify, etc., Amazon Music, or wherever you get your dose of audio version of this podcast,
just say it's like never be. Well, obviously people are listening. Never be afraid to come and join in, because literally.
No, but
I've never met Hodgie personally, but I've known him for a lot of years.
We need to get that sorted out, though.
Yeah, we do.
I was planning on coming down when I was coming back from Derby. I was going to detour across the country actually and come down. Unfortunately, a whacking great big storm intervened.
Oh, don't! I was down it. It took me 7.5 hours to get from Norwich to Clacton. It's a 2-hour drive. It took me 7.5 hours. Every possible road in East Anglia was just flooded.
But I have got some time off in April. I know that's quite a long way off, but with our industry, those weeks roll around really quick. So, or when I get like a long weekend and all that, I'm going to try and come up, and I'll grab a hotel room for the night, and it might have to be a non-alcoholic beer if I'm still on my fitness kick, but drink's a drink, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Right, so we'll wrap that up then, mate. So. I want to say massive thank you to Andy, obviously, for joining me. It's been ages since we've had him on. So yeah, brilliant to have him on for this 10th episode. And
special one.
That's it. And to everyone else watching on obviously the YouTube and watching on TikTok, thank you so much for all your questions and joining in with us. It's been a really enjoyable I don't know how long we've been going now. It's got to be pushing on
It's
a
got to
couple
be
of
an
hours.
hour and 40. But once again, if anyone does want to join,
Yeah,
just come on.
but this is
It's
it.
literally, you're talking about football. It's probably obviously every man's favourite thing,
Yeah,
or woman,
and
whoever,
woman,
and woman, yeah. So
and
literally, you're talking about football. You ain't got to support the top club.
no,
You can support anyone. Like obviously, Anna's mate, and Adam is
yeah,
a Derby fan. Obviously, they're not
that's it.
great, but it's just
I
football.
don't know. They won yesterday, so
Yeah, no thanks to your.
up the Rams.
Yeah,
My
but I'm
positive
saying like
influence.
you can support anyone. You can support, for instance, like Chesterfield or even Wrexham. You can support anyone you want. You come talk about football.
This is it, and we're always looking for new guests to come on. It doesn't matter who you support. If you're from a club that's outside the UK, outside the Premier League, especially, I love to talk. I'd love to get people on from clubs from like Championship, League One, League Two, National League, wherever. Even further down the field, go all the way down to non-league clubs in like the ninth, 10th, whatever tier. Um, so yeah, we're always willing to, and I'd love to be able to get some people on from the women's teams as well. I need to reconnect with them actually. So there's a team up in Scotland that were due to come on, but they couldn't do it at the time, and I haven't really sort of like reconnected with them. But I'm going to do that, and also if you're a person, a coach that runs little league football clubs, I want people to come on from little league. Grassroots football is a massive thing for me, so I want people to come on from those sort of clubs and setups as well. One, you can publicise, albeit we don't have a massive following, we are getting there, but you can obviously publicise what you do with your club, so people in your local area that may not be aware that you do this for kids, etc. So that's another thing. If you want to come on and talk about that and how you set your grassroots clubs up, etc., and the difficulties you have in running a club.
Proper football.
Yeah, this is it.
Proper football.
And even if you just have a five-a-side team, I don't care. If you want to come on here and talk about football, that's what we do. So
That's
don't
all.
forget,
That's all we do.
this is it. So don't forget to, and of course, on wherever you find this, wherever you listen on that, the link to every aspect of how you connect with the show is on the link tree. So that gets you to all the social media channels. It gets you back here to YouTube, gets you to the TikTok, etc., where you can ask questions and do whatever. Or you can do it the old-fashioned way, which I'm going to call it the pen and paper, but it's the modern pen and paper, which is the email, which is talkfootballpdc@gmail.com. If you want to drop us a note on there, then feel free to do so. So I'm going to bring it to a close before I wet myself.
Yeah.
And we're
I've
going to
got ready to go to bed.
and Andy's going to go to bed. So we're going to catch you on the next episode of Talk Football Podcast. So from me and from Andy, thank you so much.
Catch you a bit.